Butch Hartman, you've probably heard his name quite a bit recently. I know I have. And you're probably sick of hearing about him. Does this video do the opposite of fixing both of those issues? Yeah, probably. But I thought it's as good a time as any to talk about everything that Butch Hartman has done wrong since 2018.
Elmer Earl Hartman IV, also known as Butch Hartman, is a person who is well known by the cartoon community. He created one of the most successful cartoons of all time, Fairly OddParents. The success of this show led to 3 more cartoons. But how did this happen? How did Butch Hartman go from a person who was dying to find a job to a successful cartoon creator? Well, this all started back in the 1980s. Butch Hartman attended CalArts to pursue animation as a whole. Once he graduated from CalArts, he became a character designer and a storyboard artist for the original My Little Pony series. He was later fired because he had no experience with storyboards whatsoever. Then in the 1990s, he was hired as an artist in Hanna-Barbera. He was also later contacted by the president of the studio, Fred Seidberg, for the What a Cartoon show. Butch Hartman worked on a lot of Cartoon Network shows, such as Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, and I Am Weasel. But his contract with Hanna-Barbera expired, so he went with Fred Seidberg to work on the What a Cartoon show at Nickelodeon. Then in 1997, Butch Hartman had one chance to put one of his creations on the What a Cartoon show. That cartoon was Fairly OddParents. Nickelodeon picked up Fairly OddParents and made it into a full-length series. The ratings for Fairly OddParents were so high, the only show that was higher at the time was SpongeBob SquarePants. Fairly OddParents was Butch's greatest creation. The success of Fairly OddParents led Butch to create 3 more shows. The first one was Danny Phantom, which was another fantastic cartoon. Even fans to this day are talking about Danny Phantom and why it should come back. The show was received well by fans. The last 2 shows he created were Tough Puppy, a cartoon I really enjoyed when I was a kid, and Bunsen is a Beast. From my understanding, Tough Puppy and Bunsen is a Beast was not at the same level as Fairly OddParents and Danny Phantom, but were still shows that some people actually enjoy. That was his journey at Nickelodeon. He was there for 20 years and made 4 cartoons throughout his career. He was a talented individual who was super successful during 1997 to 2018. But what happened?
Hello everyone and welcome to Geek Toons.
Yo, what's good fellas? It's your man Sillyrally, king of good. Here to talk about Butch's YouTube channel. Butch has made this channel back in 2015 and has gained around 850,000 subscribers throughout the years. But let's take a minute to take a look at his social blade. Oh my god! Hey my boy, you good? Like, you want to talk about it? Yeah, but basically it's been revealed that he's been losing subscribers. Originally, he started his YouTube channel uploading short vlogs and other stuff no one cares about. But his channel blew up when he uploaded this video, Danny Phantom, 10 years later. 3.7 million views. Holy shit! Ever since he uploaded that video, he's been uploading videos consistently. Some videos are aight, and some of them are pretty. This man is basically known for drawing everything in the universe in the Fairly OddParents style. Like, the Fairly OddParents style. Like, oh my god, can you draw anything else, boomer? Anyway, the guy gets his most criticisms from fans based on his clickbait thumbnails and titles. It's still unknown who actually runs the Butch Hartman YouTube channel, but whoever runs it has some shady and manipulative tactics to get people to watch this man's dog videos. Hey yo, funny story, so I'm in a call with a bunch of cartoon reviewers, and What If Universe told me that this is the guy behind the YouTube channel. So yeah, I just want to say shout out to my boy What If Universe for giving this information. Yeah, this ultimately falls under Butch's responsibility, no matter who runs it. Hey yo, shut the f up! Ending my channel. Wait a minute. He returns a few days later. It's over? No, not at all. After OAXIS, also known as the Christian broadcast, became a complete failure, his videos get submerged with hundreds of dislikes and sometimes even going below 40%. Fast forward today, and his views are low. Like, holy shit. Except when he had recently had an awkward conversation with the Wenzel and got a short-term view bump, which, let's face it, the guy needs it. In general, I can't say I hate his channel, because it does give us some information to the kind of person Butch is, and we can make fun of it. But his new videos are just dumb. Alright, that's gonna be it for me. I just want to say thank you so much, Ed, for the invitation. Blessings, brother, blessings. Hashtag pay Kuro. This is Sillyrally, and I'm out of here.
Hey, ladies and jellyfish, one was of all sizes.
And now, arguably the most controversial thing Butch has ever done was OAXIS freaking Entertainment. As many of you know, OAXIS was Butch's terrible attempt at a streaming service, where he suspiciously announced it only a few months after he parted ways with Nickelodeon. He started a Kickstarter aimed at $250,000, promising a very family-friendly streaming service. Throughout the campaign in 2018, he was extremely vague, only making a handful of short videos about OAXIS, and promising absolutely every type of content on the platform, from comedies to frickin' gardening shows. As time went on, there were big hints that the service was an attempt to push Christianity and religion in general onto kids, since Butch is a very hardcore Christian, as we'll get to later. Throughout this whole thing, he also showed his massive ego, very often saying, "I created your childhood, oh please trust me with your future," and asking for huge sums of money, even though he acknowledged that most of his fans are barely even 20 years old and probably can't afford to help him out. The campaign itself was also a huge flop, promising very expensive rewards that only seemed to boost Butch's ego and make him as much money as possible, and containing very dumb and vague descriptions. Near the end of the campaign, he uploaded a few clickbait videos to ensure he hits the goal, and used some very manipulative tactics to do this. Eventually, he reaches his goal, and then suspiciously goes way over that overnight, leading many to believe he donated that to himself to make it look more impressive. And throughout all this, spanning 2 years, Butch hasn't apologized, gave any real updates, or anything like that, and has still come out as saying that he still needs more money, and the $250K was only the starting money. Hopefully we'll be seeing some exclusive gardening shows in 2058 when he finally gives us an update.
Hey guys, Sam here, and now this is where we get to some really juicy stuff. This part will highlight one aspect about Butch that he should really work on. Shutting his damn mouth. Of course, there's his thoughts on criticism where he's basically like, "How dare you criticize me? Do you know who I am?" Yes, we know what you are. You were once a creator of cartoons that got an inflated ego and a self-belief that you created our childhoods. And right now, you need to have that ego stroked at all times so it can make you feel good inside and feel superior over everyone else. Congratulations! You are every sensitive, egotistical man-child on the internet. And that's just one of his statements that has made people want to facepalm so hard that they'll end up looking like Sokka when he was with the hippies in that one episode of Avatar. But hey, what does it matter? My criticism and everyone else's criticisms don't mean shit to him. I mean, I never made the stuff that he's made, and I'm sure millions of people haven't as well, so of course he has the right to say this.
And so if someone wants to do something and they want to ask me questions like that, that's one thing. But if someone doesn't do anything and they want to, like, you know, I don't know, criticize, then I have no time for them. No time for them. So the person that asked that question, whose name will not be mentioned ever by my lips, I just want to tell all people like that, as I get back to safety here, that if you guys can't do it yourselves, you shouldn't criticize anybody else. You really shouldn't.
Yeah, try saying that shit to people like Gordon Ramsay, who is both a chef and critic of food. I'm sure that'll go so smoothly. Or he'll just end up calling you a wanker, I don't know. Now yes, that stuff he has said is definitely stupid, dumb, and insensitive. But the one that really gets me is his statement about introverts. Now, before I show you this, I would just like to point out that before Butch gives you his opinion on them, he does admit that he might get flack for saying it.
If you guys want to do your own cartoon, I don't care if it's an animated show, I don't care if it's a movie you're directing, I don't care if it's a script you're writing, I don't care if it is a song you're playing, whatever. You need to be able to be the person, and don't be, people that are introverts, I want to encourage you all, don't be an introvert. Because being an introvert is, and a lot of people, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack over saying this.
Well, if you know it's going to get people angry, why do you want to say it anyway? Wait, here it comes. Here is what he thinks about introverts.
If you're an introvert, it's a very selfish thing to be, and here's why. Because it's all about you. You're self-centered. You don't want to get out of yourself and go like, well, maybe I could communicate with these people. Well, I'm just an introvert. I'm going to sit over here. People have to figure out what I'm thinking. Because you're making everybody else uncomfortable when you're an introvert like that. Because no one knows what you're thinking, no one knows how you're feeling, and no one knows what to communicate with you.
Wow, really? Yes, that's right. All introverts are selfish. They think only about themselves. Okay, let's go over the reasons why that statement is complete bull, shall we? 1. You know you just unintentionally described yourself, right, Butch? 2nd, the right term for introversion is a personality trait that some people have where they are more focused on internal moods, thoughts, and feelings rather than external stimulation. Which means that some introverts would rather be around a small close group of friends rather than a large group, more likely to have a nice day by quietly reading a book, watching a video or a movie, rather than going out partying and getting drunk, and more into being independent, like working on projects alone. You know, like me. 3. You do not speak for every introvert, Butch, and you are not the right person to talk about that. And being an introvert doesn't mean we are selfish and care more about ourselves. Yes, I admit to being an introvert and am more independent than most, but that's not all that I am. I can hang around other people and maybe go to parties when I want to. It's just a part of me and it can't just be magically cured. Same as autism too, buddy. So when you say things like introverts are selfish and they make people uncomfortable and that they think the world revolves around them, not only is that misguided and wrong, but it's a pretty hurtful thing to say. And 4, and this is the most important one, he knew people would get upset about that and he still said it anyway. He figured that he couldn't just bite his tongue and keep it to himself and decided to say it anyway like a dumbass, which I'm sure insulted a lot of introverts in the world. Maybe even some that still liked his work. So you know what? Since Butch doesn't really care about being a good person, or doesn't care about constructive criticism, and instead cares more about feeding his ego and making you feel bad about criticizing his actions and statements, I think we should give him a very special award. Da-da-da-da! It's the Foot and Mouth Award! And this award can be used in 2 ways. 1, it can be up on your mantle, somewhere so you can find some way to feel good about yourself, and forget about how much of an egotistical jackass you are. And 2, if there ever is another moment where you might say something controversial, or make an insensitive joke directed at someone that you worked with for nearly 2 decades, take the award off the mantle and jam it in your mouth. That way we won't have to hear any more of your bullshit. Anyway, thanks Air for letting me discuss this topic. And before I go, I've got one more thing to say that will definitely piss Butch off. It might get me blocked from his Twitter like Bye Guy Rules. You and Jim Carrey both believe that autism is created by medicine. Of course, we know it doesn't and that you're both wrong, but I would rather entrust my future with Jim rather than you. Bye-bye.
Scoob? More like, what up, ladies and gentlemen, and people of all conceivable genders? It is Avis Reviews, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Hey, isn't this the guy that made the basketball video? Yeah, and he's also the guy that's f***ing your mom right now. So let's just set the record straight here. Now, I don't want to beat around the bush. I'm someone who genuinely doesn't care how stupid you are or how many times you dish out a terrible take. I'm obviously gonna make fun of you for it, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna drown you in a sea of my true wrath. I saved that for only very special individuals, and lucky Butch Hartman, he just got put in the special class, and he's gotten in trouble a few too many times for my liking. You stole the crayon from Little Jimmy one too many times, Butch, and now I'm gonna have to give you the big ol' slap on the wrist for that one. So let's go through the footage and find out why Butch really deserves that good old slap on the wrist.
But Tara was not the original Timmy Turner. The original actress was Mary Kay Bergman, who sadly passed away. But she was
such a sweet lady.
Sweet lady. She also did a bunch of voices on South Park when that first started.
Yeah.
She was the mom on South Park.
No, she had a very prolific career. She was awesome.
Doing great. And then she ended up passing away. And I think Tara actually had something to do with that. And so that's probably that was probably your fault. No, I'm kidding. That was probably your fault. That was probably your fault. No.
Wow! Butch, that right there is a spicy little take you got there. Not like Ghost Pepper Challenge level of spicy, more like when you take a steaming diarrhea after having some really bad Mexican food and your butthole is literally singed for the rest of that day. You have to walk around like a retired prostitute. That level of spicy is what we're talking about. I'm not even gonna bother explaining what's genuinely wrong with this clip because this isn't even really a take. This is just Butch being a tool. All this seems to stem from his general beliefs around mental health, which were very unfortunately made clear in a Christian seminar he did once when he started promoting OAXIS when it first came out.
Kids today, they have no purpose. There's depression, there's suicide. Constant exposure to corrupt social media and entertainment is a primary contributor to this crisis. I know kids who have committed suicide. When I grew up, kids had a hard time, they got through it. Suicide was never even thought about. Where's that coming from?
Again, I can kind of see where Butch is coming from in a different reality, but Jesus Christ. It is true that suicide rates are much higher than they were back then when Butch Hartman was growing up, but suicide has always been a thing that's been around. There's a genuine point willed in there about how disconnection has an effect on a person, but when you say shit like, suicide wasn't even thought of when I was a kid, then your genuine message just completely goes to shit. Not to mention how manipulative this comes across. Remember, he was pushing this for his product, which in general, Butch Hartman seems to love pushing his products in ways that really barely push my buttons. Mr. I created your childhood. Because that doesn't make you sound like you have a sun-level ego. Now, aside from just coming across like a walking conceited piece of trash, another consequence of having an ego this immeasurable is you have a bit of an issue taking any form of criticism. Check out these epic gamer moments Butch made on his stream where he not only made it to jack himself off so hard that I'm surprised he didn't actually break his arm, but also proved how paper thin skinned he is.
So I look at people that critique as weak. Weak rhymes with critique. So, you know, if you're going to critique like, hey, this is never going to work or whatever, then I just say, you know what, let's see you try it, and then we'll see how you do. So go ahead and critique away, because all it does is make me stronger. If you guys think you're going to knock me down or make me fail, do you know who you're dealing with? Do you really know? Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? What I've been up against already as a father and a husband and someone who's worked in Hollywood for 30 years, and you are going to take me down? What, are you kidding? That's kind of a joke, I think. So good luck. Best of luck, everybody.
Critique rhymes with weak. Imagine being so sensitive to criticism that you dismiss the practice entirely. Like, it's not something everyone on the planet does on a daily basis. You know, aside from if you're just a guy that like lives in your mom's basement and you don't talk to anyone. You know, aside from that, everybody on this planet does this on a daily basis, even in minor ways. And that, ladies and gentlemen, people of all conceivable genders, is Butch Hartman for you. He's narcissistic, he's thin-skinned, he's insensitive, he's ignorant, and above all else, he exists in a dimension beyond us. And at this point, I'm convinced he's unreachable.
Hello, it's ShadeX, that guy who did 2 Butch Hartman videos, and Air asked me to be a part of this collab. For my segment, I'll be talking about Butch Hartman's many business ventures, besides OAXIS. In the 2 Butch Hartman videos I did, I previously covered Butch Hartman's $130 Christian cartoon called The Garden. However, both of those videos were unscripted reactions, so I never got to write down my general thoughts on the subject. I'll talk about The Garden real quick. The cartoon is dull, it isn't entertaining. Sure, it was fun to watch with a group of people to make fun of, but overall I would not seek out this show to watch on my own. The show is about Lenny the Lion and Lucy the Lamb, who work for the boss in a garden. Their job is to plant random things as seeds. The lessons I saw in these 2 episodes I watched with the boys in my reaction video were very generic. I learned 2 lessons from this cartoon. Befriend Trump Gorilla, and be patient and wait for toucan eggs to hatch.
Thank you, Jesus, for 6 incredible new toucans!
To sum up The Garden, it's a badly animated Christian cartoon created by Butch Hartman that cost $130. According to Saberspark, it only contains 6 5-minute episodes. It's a ripoff, and he didn't even get his activity poster. The Garden is super overpriced and is not worth the high price tag. It's a ripoff. You can get the complete series of Adventure Time on DVD for far more cheaper. Plus, The Garden is free on the Gospel Truth TV website if you watch it at the right time. Now it's time to talk about Butch Hartman's commissions. Not only does Butch Hartman charge $130 for a low-quality Christian cartoon, he also charges $200 for commissions. Ellis Mark did a great video where he paid Butch $200 to draw him. The results were fine, as Mark expected it to be much worse, but it is very clear that Butch puts a way too high value on his art. However, people didn't start criticizing Butch's commissions after that video. It wasn't until the Ember commission that Butch put on Twitter that he truly got flack for that. This led to a trend called My 200 versus Butch's 200, where artists compared their expensive commissions to the ones he did of Ember. They also compared their art to a drawing of Dib. Looking through all the examples, it's really clear that Butch Hartman is putting a way too high price on his art. For 200 smackaroos, you could get a simple picture drawn by Butch Hartman, the creator of your childhood, with no background. Or you could pay the same price, maybe a bit more, and sometimes even less from one of these people on Twitter, and get much better quality art. Here's one thing I gotta say. Artists should put more value on their art. Butch puts too high value on his art. I am surprised quite a few of these artists have made better art for less money. Mr. I Create Your Childhood charges $200 and clearly isn't trying, as he has been proven to be tracing at least one of his commissions. If you want to commission someone, please don't pay Butch. He is charging way too much because of his ego. There are far better artists who need more attention who are much better than Butch. There are people who need commissions who aren't as successful as Butch that need money to pay for necessities. One person I really want to mention is N.M.E, an artist and YouTuber who needs to pay for food and other things as she is trying to move into a college dorm. Please consider commissioning her. There was also Black Geeky Girl who is opening up summer commissions. They both charge lower rates than Butch, and they are a lot more talented. They don't trace and need the money more than him. Alright, now it's time to talk about the vision coaching. Butch Hartman and his wife Julianne have a company called Vision Possible, and they do vision coaching. It is ridiculously overpriced. It costs $2,000 for the Business Accelerator coaching package. It's $2,000. You get one 4-hour meeting and one 1-hour free follow-up meeting, and 2 emails. 2 emails! You get 2 emails from Butch Hartman and his wife! However, the most pricey of the packages is the $4,799 tier called Creative Track, which is one where Butch teaches you how to create a cartoon. You get 2 4-hour creative and intense meetings with 3 half-hour follow-up calls, all within a 90-day period. Yeah, that's 3 half-hour follow-up calls from Butch and his wife. That's great. Get 3 phone calls. If you want to learn how to pitch that cartoon though, it'll cost you $6,000. Again, I want to mention that if you want to make it in the animation industry, you shouldn't pay large sums of money to spend 4 hours with Butch Hartman. Cartoon Network gave Portfolio Advice out for free, while Butch charges 6 figures for it. Finally, I'll talk about the book. I didn't buy it, but you can read the first few pages online. I skimmed through it. In the book, Butch talks about how he wants the reader to win. He talks about the 4 shows he made for Nick, and mentions how he pitched 20 other shows to the network. The book, from what I've read, actually sounds pretty interesting because I am curious what those 20 shows were. I wouldn't personally buy it, but if anyone is curious about Butch's vision coaching, I would recommend that you buy this book instead. He probably gives the same whole advice he gives in the book about how you can be a winner if you try in his overpriced vision coaching. The book is only $9.99 digitally, so if you are morbidly curious, you could buy it yourself. However, I would not recommend it. Saber Spark will likely review the book himself, as he did purchase it, and from the looks of the chapters, it seems to be that Butch is stroking his ego in book form. In conclusion, don't buy things from Butch. There are far better artists who you could commission, and you can get advice from industry professionals for free sometimes. This has been ShadeX, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video and feel nothing but good vibes. Then subscribe to A.S.K.
This was originally another segment for someone else, but I'll come and briefly mention it since that YouTuber left this collab. Butch has recently been streaming on Facebook, constantly quoting the Bible, saying his usual egotistical stuff, and not giving any real updates for OAXIS or any of his controversies. I check out Pie Guy's recent hour-long live stream on them if you really want to see some detail in terms of these streams.
Butch Hartman, boy how the mighty have fallen. This dude thinks his work is so great when most of it plagiarizes better to overused media like Spider-Man, to where now he hosts seminars on autism. At first one would say, well, he's just stating opinions that you don't agree with, which I also agree. But then you remember that sometimes people's controversial ideas on issues can lead to bad results that affect the health of children and adults. Butch believes mental disorders like autism and Asperger's syndrome can be cured and are caused by modern medicine. Autism and Asperger's is a disorder that is born from genetics and trauma they developed as an infant or adult. Believing in anything else is an insult to the doctors, therapists, and children who have to deal with the affliction as well as try to develop and take care of others on their own. Don't get me started about what this guy has to say about introverts because it comes off as very snarky, angry, and cruel. This shows what happens when someone with clear emotional issues and hubris takes power with a platform. We've seen it before with other YouTubers, but this person has a seat in the animation industry and is trying to propel his pedestal to CEO level. Pushing his very scary and downright mean ideology to the public is a bad thing, especially when it could end in dangerous results, because people and their parents or kids who grew up with Butch's work, who are now parents, could interpret his influence as fact and endanger the lives of their children by refusing them vaccines or special therapy, hoping they just get over it. And we all know that that never ends well. In conclusion, I don't enjoy Butch's views on autism. I feel they endanger children with snake oil pitches, and he's clearly too unself-aware about his own beliefs, and it's scary. It's a shame a talented man like Butch with such a huge legacy in animation is like this, but sadly, he is. I don't wish any ill upon him. I just hope he gets help and that people don't fall for his beliefs. Please, take care, Mr. Hartman.
Do you like cartoons? Oh, you do?
Now up until this point, my colleagues have discussed a lot of the scummy actions of the one and only Elmer Earl Hartman IV. But by far the most recent of his Hartmanisms, as I would like to call it, would definitely be his refusal to pay an artist that goes by the name of Rob Orfila, otherwise known as Kuro the Artist on any social media platform. Now Kuro has had an interesting story to say the least when it comes to his time on the internet. He never really started on YouTube with the goal of fame or revenue or some other third thing. Evidence of this can be found in the fact that after his channel blew up, he rather quickly gave it a name change and let many other creators post on it instead of him. Not only that, but he's also accomplished a lot more, such as creating his fan comic 5 years later and starting up his small business known as the Ink Tank. So needless to say, he's doing quite well for himself. But this is where we move our attentions over to the topic I'll be discussing for this video, the online trend that's sweeping your Twitter feed known as Pay Kuro. Now, while a lot of the previous statements I've listed do make Kuro seem like a genuinely nice person, there do exist certain individuals who can and will take advantage of people's kindness, and one of these just so happened to be Mr. Butch I Joke About Suicide Hartman. Now, those of you who are familiar with the work Kuro has done would also possibly remember that he's done a handful of animation work for Butch Hartman's YouTube channel, such as a Fairly OddParents anime video and a few of Butch's story times. But the one that has stirred up the most controversy has to be the attempted animated series known as Imaginathan. With Kuro working with Butch for a while, the big man decided to hire him for a 5-minute animated pilot with color and backgrounds, with the agreement that any animation work done, no matter how big or small, would be rewarded with a payment of $1,400 American dollars. A pretty fair sum of payment if you ask me. But before he could get any real work done, the project was cancelled and abandoned. But like the good old demon he is, he decided out of nowhere not to pay him, which not only is scummy but majorly illegal. After multiple attempts to get his attention via email, Kuro decided to take the situation to Twitter, leading to the hashtag PayKuro, with multiple people joining in to get the message to Hartman, including a ton of cartoon community members such as Monsters Review and the most prominent in the story, Pie Guy Rules. And so it seems like the current situation will just keep going until thickhead Hartman can finally pay the man. To end my segment, I have something for you to take from this tale. With any help you get, if it does include payment or even exposure, make sure you keep on that promise. No one wants to be a Madame or a Butch Hartman. Anyways, thanks to Air for letting me talk about this topic, and I'll see you all in the next one.
The tale of Sonic Roblox was a tragic story.
And that, my friends, is how you cure autism with the power of Christ. Thank you all so much for staying till the end. And if you skip the entire video, you're a bully. You're a bitch and a bully. I want to see you get successful in life. While I was talking about all that in autism, I decided to draw Caco Demon from Doom Eternal. Oh, forget about that. Oh, speaking of news, I decided to open up a Discord server for all you Heart fans to join. So, I definitely don't see anything wrong with this.
Butch Hartman. Oh, Butch Hartman. My peers have already done a pretty decent job explaining Butch's history and the many faults behind the things he's done over the last couple of years. However, we have yet to discuss one of his newest crimes against humanity. And what's that despicable deed? Well, my friend, he created a Discord server? Okay, before I talk about the server and its multiple, and by multiple I mean 2, rates the server has gotten, I just want to say that me and everyone in this collab does not encourage you to raid the server. Sure, Butch is an egotistical sociopath, but his fanbase does not deserve any of this. So about a week ago, Butch uploaded a video called How I Created Channel Chasers, and in the comment section there was a new link added, which was a Discord server. I actually didn't know about this until someone in the A.S.K Discord server, which by the way you should join. A.S.K is definitely not making me say this. Someone brought it up and just talked about it, and I just kind of ignored it because I thought it was a troll server created by Koopa Koop or something. So the next day, I decided to look at Butch's channel to see if it's actually true, and it turns out it is. So I went to Geek Toons server, I put the link in, and we all just started to laugh. And me, being the runner of the Out of Context cartoon community, decided to join, and then post a tweet saying something stupid, and then posted the link. At first, nothing really happened, but overnight, Oh boy. While I can't really explain what happened during the raid because unlike other people on Discord, I really don't want my sleeping schedule being screwed. But to put it in shortly, it was pretty bad. So the next day, the mods at Butch's server thought to themselves, hey, you know that raid that happened in that server that we mod? How about we do something about it? So for the next couple of days, the persons that could only talk in the Discord server were the mods. And the things they said were fucking hilarious. Okay, let me read some of the messages. Raiders are known for their politeness, since they have none whatsoever. I blame their parents.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Wait, trolls entered this server yesterday? What's wrong with people? We're just a bunch of cartoon fans supporting the guy who created the cartoon that inspired us in our youth. People get the bright idea to do stuff like this. Yeah guys, let's support the guy who did Dougal. And the next one I'm gonna read takes the cake for being the funniest and most retarded thing I've ever read on Discord. Would people raid an innocent server? Because people avoid accusations against Butch, and people thought it would be fun if we came over here and screwed with his server. Accusations, I fucking can't. So then, after 3 days of nothing but the mods complaining, they had a brilliant idea. They were all like, okay, we acknowledge that there's still trolls in the server, so let's reopen the server so everyone can talk. Moments later, the server was raided once again, and this time I was actually part of it. A lot of people were spamming, we all believe in Santa Christ, and put a lot of bread in it. And then, you know what happened? Let's see what the mods did. A, they decided to warn people to stop. B, they closed the server once again. Or C, the one that's so obvious, they decided to give the people that were raiding raider rules that did absolutely nothing. If you guessed C, congratulations, you aren't dumb. Sadly, the raid had to end due to, reasons. So with the raids out of the way, let's talk about the server overall. You know, for a server with over 500 people, it isn't really that active. Sure, I see a lot of people sometimes self-promote or post their art, and sometimes there's a VC. For example, while the server was on lockdown, I saw some people playing Gex. And with that being said, let's talk about the moderators. They are, in my opinion, one of, if not the worst moderators I have ever seen on Discord. In the middle of the two raids, they did absolutely nothing. And when they did do something, it was once the raid was over. And once the raid were over, they were just started complaining, saying, oh, the raiders, it's all their fault. I can't believe they came here. You guys, you know it's your job to prevent something like this. So in conclusion, what did we learn here today? Don't give Butch Hartman a Discord server. Ever! Join my Discord instead.
And that, ladies and jellyfish, is everything Elmer Earl IV has done wrong. Sorry if some of this came off as obvious, this video was in production for a long time. But anyway, I'd like to thank RushaanSBSP, Sillyrally, Baseball Sam 2, Avis Reviews, ShadeX, Austin Trench, Geek, Toons, and Manuel for helping out in this video. Go check out all of them with the links in the description, and give them all some love on my behalf. Thanks to Pie Guy Rules, Kuro the artist, and many others who inspired this video. You really helped us out. And to everyone else, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell, and follow me on Twitter and join the Discord server with the links below, and I'll see you ladies and jellyfish next time. Ciao!